Log in, tap in. Yeah, they got it bugging. I woke up with a particular vibe. I'm at a crossroad with a message in the sky. There's a change on the horizon. You'll get it when you climb. It's a level to a level. Many levels in the mind. Transform into a state that's optimal and prime. Engaging interference intervenes with your incline. Divided and divine divides the scheme to the pride with the creator gate of all. Many fall what they shine just to be a future light for the lost and the blind. If I had to look back, my impact is on time. In a world where they don't know I is not myself and I know why. We headed to the world but we don't go by falsehood, lies from old mixed with the new shit, debauchery, evil that no one know what to do with. Who's stopping me? My focus is still on monogamy, dedicated on one task, still love is a monopoly. This the way it is, not the way that it gotta be. Europa Report TV, man. Stop playing. I went to bed with a particular feeling. The cops stopped patrolling. The hood stopped drilling. Mama still lose their daughters. Fathers still love their children. Respect at the forefront for all of us building. Principles of reinstate what never was but always willing. With a force so compelling you can tell by the healing. No heat that comprehends the shape of my tetrahedron. I was breathing different life. I told my wife I'm in the season. What the greatest shall return, even the best will look decent. It's far beyond time, even the older look recent. And the newer look newer. And you should've looked sooner. There's a seed in your spirit, never mind the late bloomer. I was steady in the trap with the looters and the shooters, bust maneuvers, puffin' hookah till I fell in the manure. So my own stripes away just to pay the connoisseurs. My death creates life in the depths of the sewer. Catch an Uber with the Ruger, kept me safe with my medulla. Hallelujah to my daddy, but only my mama knew ya. But I still love you the same, and you know I'm coming through ya. You're a diamond in the ring of life, praise to the jeweler. Make sure you check us out on Facebook and YouTube. Check us out on Europa Report TV, over Europa, Airtime TV.
Yo, SUC in the building. Oh, we got the General Yashar in the building. Tanks on the ground. What's up? What's cracking?
Man, what's cracking, man? Shalom, family. Shalom, D-Red.
Yeah, man.
Shalom, man.
We got D-Red, the blue collar scholar in the building. You know what I'm saying? SUC sourced up, click. We sourced up and sourced out. Know what I'm talking about? Let's get it. So we all here at this funeral service to put our brother Garfield A. Reed back in the ground. You know what I'm saying? The brother died today. The brother died today on his own channel during an interview with Tudor Parfitt. And it just got bad for him because what we've been telling these charlatans is that you had Jews going into the slave trade that were victims of the slave trade. You had black Jews. And for years, D-Red is my witness. Yashar is my witness. These guys have vehemently denied that, fought against us tooth and nail against those two facts, man. Said we were lying. We were making it up. We are disillusioned. And this pretty much spreading all of this dirt on us throughout the community, man. D-Ray, you want to speak to that real quick before we start getting into the clips?
Yeah, man. I mean, that's been a contention since I've been around. I've been around over 10 years. I mean, dealing with some of these cats, like I said, going back to Blog Talk Radio. That's been an argument for a while that the Jews wasn't in the slave trade, wasn't no Jews in West Africa, wasn't no Jewish presence in West Africa. I mean, so this is it's funny to hear it being echoed by academia now. You know what I mean? but we've been saying, and they use some of the same sources. We was using Mungo Park and all them same sources we was using. Like this is not, but when we was pulling out some of them sources, we was saying, they was telling us that it was pseudo, and they would try to find little holes in it. You know what I mean? So it was good. It was cool because it was funny because it was like we've been trying to tell you this, bro. Like this is common knowledge. It's not we. It's common knowledge in academia. This is not what we saying is not fringe work. You know what I'm saying? What we saying is not a fringe concept. This is common knowledge. You know what I'm saying? So that's all.
Right. So I mean, we've been hitting them with arguments that same thing Tudor Parfitt was saying today. Like you said, the Mungo Park, the different slaves that were given accounts, like Odendorp that he put in his new book was given accounts of black Jews practicing Sabbath observance, abstaining from eating pork, menstruation separation and things of that nature, and actually claiming to be actually bloodline Jews, not someone coming, some Hasidic Jew coming down with two curls hanging out the side of his damn hat teaching them the halak. That's not what they're saying. So, and to see Garfield just be silent on the issue or try to talk around the issue is telling, because you're pseudo. Now, pseudo means not genuine, and these guys are disingenuine. You brought the man on your channel, and you even addressed the fact that he was basically saying the same exact thing we have been saying for years. And there's no secret. You can just look at my channel. We've been making these same claims about the Sephardic Jews being black, being caught up in the slave trade. I have done whole presentations on it, and you guys sit there and lambasted the information, misrepresented the information, just to have Tudor Parfitt come on your show and pretty much crush you on every point. On every point. And we got the timestamps and we got the clips, and we're going to get right into it. Tudor Parfitt stuck his scholastic foot all the way up Garfield's rectum today, man. And it showed that you're a charlatan, you have no information, and you suck. Emphasis on suck. Right? So we're gonna get right into it. Oh man, this is before we do that, let me read Fair Use Act so we don't get flagged. We have a right, we are well within our right to review and criticize and critique information, media, videos, or whatnot. Right? So let me get it on Google. Yahoo is tripping. So we don't want to hear no complaints about us sharing our views and information and reviewing on what went down today on Dagger Squad. All right. So as y'all can see on the screen, let me share my screen. Y'all can see. Shalom to the family that's in. Shalom, Yahukanan. Yahukanan, you got the link, brother. If you want to jump in and give your 2 cents, you can. Shalom to Plumantis. I see you, brother. You always on every video. You are not going unnoticed. Shout out to all my brothers and sisters that support the channel. But as you can see on the screen, we are well within our right under the fair use law. All right. It says, under the doctrine of fair use, the law allows the use of proportions of copyrighted work without permission from the owner. Fair use is a defense to copyright infringement. This means that an unauthorized use of copyrighted material is excusable if it falls under the principle of fair use. Although the law does provide guidelines for making this assessment, determining fair use is not always easy since it's a gray area law. Consequently, courts make decisions on case-by-case basis. Under the Title 17 U.S. Code, copyright owners have the right to limit the use of their creative work. An owner has the right to distribute, reproduce, display, make derivatives, or perform work in public. The right applies to both published and unpublished works, fixed a tangible medium, right? That includes literature, music, motion pictures, so on and so forth, right? So if we go down under the Copyright Act, the fair use of copyrighted material without permission is allowed when used for the following purpose: criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, including making copies for the use in the classroom, scholarship and research, or parody. So we are doing a mixture of all of that. We're going to be critiquing, we're going to be doing parody, and we're going to be giving commentary, and we're actually scholars, and we're doing this for research purposes. So we're well within our right to review and criticize and comment on the video that took place today on Dagger Squad, and we're going to actually refer to Sister E's video as well. All right. Yeah, right, Warrior Lord. Looks like Brother Garfield getting smoked left and right and center. The old broke down Garfield who still cannot produce his book since 2018. That's funny because D-Red been on that man bumper about that book, and he ain't going to bring that book out because he afraid of what's going to happen to him. When he does, he's going to get exposed as a pseudo. All right. Now, no further ado, let's get into the main course. The reason we here, the Tudor Parfitt interview with our brother Garfield. All right, we're going to start at the 13-minute marker, around the 12 to 13-minute marker.
Manifestations in Africa. So an obvious example is Equiano. I'm sure you all know about him.
Yes, sir.
A former,
let me go back a little bit.
Slave who among slave populations in the 80s, quite regularly articulated through the idea of the lost, or the sense that they do belong to the people of Israel through this myth. But very often it's concealing some historical truth.
You see what he just said? See, Garfield tried to say, well, in your book, and you wrote a book about the Israelites being a myth, the lost tribe being a myth, and these guys are following a myth. But he's talking about myth, and he said, oftentimes myth conceals historical truth. That's what Tudor Parfitt just told Garfield. And look at his face. He's not liking that because he's been going around pushing myth as if it's pure fiction. Rob Bourne has done the same thing. When you read Ida Bruder's books, he says, I'm not using the term myth to denote pure fiction because these myths contain historical realities. That's the same thing Tudor Parfitt says. Why do they share the same sentiment? Because Edith Bruder is a student of Tudor Parfitt. She was under the tutelage of Tudor Parfitt. She wrote her doctoral thesis and submitted it to Parfitt. So they're saying the same exact thing. So you got beat up on that point. Look at Garfield's face, man. Womp womp.
So let's cut to the chase. The existence of a desire to identify with the people of Israel among African Americans or between people of African origin living in Central America is quite regularly articulated through the idea of the lost tribes. This in itself is a myth. And very often it is formed as a result of a kind of metaphorical identification with the people of Israel. However, that's not the only way
You see him shaking his head. Oh, metaphorical. I like that. I like that. Watch this. However, that's not the only way. Watch this.
Which a sense of belonging to the people of Israel might have occurred among slave populations in the 18th and early 19th century. And there's some evidence, not very much, but there is some evidence that slaves had an idea of Judaism through Jewish manifestations in Africa. So
we've been saying this for years. He said there's some idea that slaves had an idea of Judaism through Jewish manifestations in Africa. Brother Garfield is on record, and we're going to pull the clip up after Tudor Parfitt gets done spanking him of him saying, show me one Jew that got off a slave ship, one African American or one African that got off a slave ship claiming to be a Jew, which we already killed that with Uncle Bill. We killed that with Joseph Pellegrino, and we killed that with the two brothers of the Jewish nation that was found down in South Carolina. We killed that. They came off slave ships. They was from Algeria. They got caught up in the slave trade, got sold over here as slaves. We killed that, and they understood they was Jews.
Did you mention Equianus?
Equiano, what they play with Equiano. They'll say he did not say he was a Jew.
Oh. But I remember. Did you get that clip? Please tell me you got that clip.
Which clip?
Where Parfitt mentioned Equiano as one of those individuals he used as a source.
Yeah. That's on him.
Okay.
You
Go ahead.
There, brother.
An obvious example is Equiano. I'm sure you all know about him.
Yes, sir.
A former slave who mentioned Judaic practices among the Igbo. This is right at the end of the 18th century. It's a very interesting text. And he was talking about Judaism in Nigeria long before anybody had really said very much about the Igbo.
Long before anybody ever said anything about the Igbo, he noticed the Judaic practices and wrote it down in his book. There's nothing Garfield can do but sit there and have egg on his face, man. This is something we've been telling these Negroes for years. And Tudor Parfitt had to come up there, shine his boot, and stump you, man. Proverbially, of course. But you got stumped.
Which was only to happen over the next few decades. Some of my recent work, if you read the highlighted very attentively, you'll have to go to the footnotes. You will see there's got a lot of evidence produced for black Jewish communities in different parts of West Africa.
Lots of evidence produced for black Jewish presences across West Africa. Look at Garfield's face. Look at his face. Oh, you're not supposed to say that. We've been telling you Negroes this for years. For years. And you bucked against it. You understand? You kicked against the pricks, as Paul would say it. And if no one don't know what a prick is what we use to tame wild cattle or wild livestock. And if they kicked against it, the knife or the blade on the end of it would drive deeper and deeper into their flesh. It got more and more painful the more they kicked against it. And Garfield is getting more and more painful for you to keep kicking against common sense and common history, bro. It's getting more and more painful watching you get embarrassed. Should be painful for you, man. But you love getting beat down, man.
Which are not sort of based upon a particular reading of tribal history, let's put it like that.
It's not based on tribal history. He's going to get into it. Watch.
But are based on fairly hard historical fact.
Hard historical fact. I've done a whole video on what he's going to bring up. The Black Sephardi Jews. You can go to Genesis 49 and see it. 2 years ago. Watch.
And the base, this hard historical fact is the expulsion of the Jews from Spain and from Portugal at the end of the 15th century. Subsequent to which...
what Tudor Parfitt is saying, J.A. Rogers said damn near 100 years ago. We've been saying this. That these Jews from Sephardim went and dispersed to Costa Guinea, Principe, Sao Tome, had these children and survived. Some of them got caught up as slaves. Some of them were slave traders. We've been saying this. And they were black. You guys have bucked against this for years. And Tudor Parfitt is cementing that and has cemented it in his books. So I know you didn't read the book that's on the screen.
a lot of Jews settled, first of all, in northwest Africa, places like Senegal, in the islands, which I'm sure you know about, Saint Tomé and Principe.
Yes, sir.
Principally. And then less known along the coast of Guinea, so that in the middle of the 16th century, 1560 to be precise, the Portuguese Archbishop of Goa in India proclaimed that Judaism is a kind of horrible illness which has killed millions of people throughout history, and the result of being Jewish was to be covered in shame, to fail in everything, even among the black Jews of Guinea. So, in other words, the existence of Jews in the western part of Africa was absolutely accepted at the time.
Did you hear that? Did you hear that? This is what y'all been fighting against for years. The existence of black Jews was absolutely accepted at the time of that writing. They understood that there were Jews in Western Africa on the coast of Guinea, man. We have done presentation upon presentation. We have dropped source after source. We have showed you over and over again. J.A. Rogers said the same exact thing, and his book is about 100 years old now, man. And you guys lambasted it, called these people, and called J.A. Rogers pseudo. Oh, we can't trust these people. And we got to wait on the British Indiana Jones, a.k.a. Tudor Parfitt, to vindicate these claims. Because you hate your history. You hate who you are. Y'all always try to throw that on us. Oh, y'all hate your... No, you hate your history because this is a part of your history. It's Black History Month, ain't it? Huh? Shouldn't you be educating the people on these black Jewish communities that proliferated West Africa, in Guinea, in Senegal, in Principe, in Sao Tome, right? The Synagogue community, right? The Degregados, the black Sephardim that went into the Caribbean islands, which is funny. They mentioned in their book that a lot of these ideas of tying African Americans to Jews could have came from the children of these Sephardim, i.e. Marcus Garvey, i.e. J.A. Rogers, these people coming from the Caribbean and bringing forth these ideas. You wouldn't know that if you sat down and, like that man said, read his book tentatively, not skimming like you brothers do. And if y'all want to see this brother's book be highlighted and reviewed live, tune in to the source. We're almost finished with Edith Bruder's work, and we're working on Tudor Parfitt's whole book. So at the end of this thing, y'all going to be able to just reference our channel, reference our playlist of us covering the book, The Black Jews in Africa and the Americas by Tudor Parfitt in its entirety. So there's no question who's reading this stuff.
By the likes of the Portuguese Archbishop of Goa. And then travelers, Mango Park is a good example, kept coming across Jews or evidence of Jewish settlements in West Africa. And we know from various sources that there were, black Jewish communities practicing mainstream Judaism from the end of the 15th century onwards through the next century and so on. And as far as the black Jews that I talked about in this book, because they are the starting point for a wider digression or a wider consideration of more racial themes, or rather themes to do with the evolution of the race myth, has got to do with Loango. And there we've got very, very hard, relatively recent evidence, because there was a scientific mission to West Africa taken by the Germans in 1870, 1871, and they left behind huge tomes in German which describe, among other things, this black Jewish community, which was still at that time practicing a form of Judaism. So Loango, where these people came from, was one of the main slave exporting kingdoms in West Africa. And therefore, it is entirely likely that some slaves, anyway, I'm not saying it's all slaves, and I certainly don't subscribe to the idea that all African Americans are naturally Israelites and they have replaced the Jews in the Great Dispensation. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that some Jews, both in Central America and in the United States, had every reason to be influenced by the Judaism that we know to have existed in the 18th century when they crossed to the Americas, either from Loango or from points north, certainly Senegal, and further south, possibly Nigeria. We don't know very much about the practice of Judaism in Nigeria at that time, but let's assume that Ekpiana was not lying.
Mm-hmm. So he just said that some slaves, and then referred to them as Jews, would have been influenced by this Judaism that was inundating West Africa at the time. You Negroes are on record denying that. You have a problem with that. And we're going to give you the video proof right here. You know how we get it. Tudor Parfitt basically told you that some slaves could have been influenced by the Judaism that was in West Africa. And watch this. Watch what this charlatan said about 4 years ago. And we got on him about this and pretty much chopped him up. I did a video that did 20,000 views on my channel and probably did 60,000 views on Maccabees TV in response to him saying this. You're going to see it right here. Here it is. Y'all can see the video. This is Hell Up in Harlem with Dr. Reggie, Captain Zaria, Gorilla Hebrew, and Garfield by Baba TV. If y'all remember Baba TV back in that time, you know what I'm saying? That you've been here for a while. So watch what Garfield says. And remember what Tudor Parfitt said about some of these slaves and then referring to them as Jews. Watch this.
In the Western Hemisphere. I'm not talking from parts of Africa to Freetown where he's not the first cat that wanted to debate me or have dialogue that I stepped away from. He's a nobody. Shalom. Peace and blessings to everybody here. But we know what's going on. I said last week right here that anybody that can provide evidence that anybody who came on a ship to America was a Hebrew Israelite. That's what I said. I'm going to ask Gorilla Hebrew right now. Can you?
Do you hear what he said? Show me that anybody came off a ship here to America that was a Hebrew Israelite. Or the Americas or the Western Hemisphere, right? Niggas was saying this all like for a minute. This is what they was running to as if it was like a golden grail of their BS. And we just heard Tudor Parfitt say so eloquently, let me go back to it, that some slaves could have in fact been those Jews, man. Let me get back to a 17-minute marker.
Entirely likely that some slaves, anyway, I'm not saying it's all slaves, and I certainly don't subscribe to the idea that all African Americans are naturally Israelites and they have replaced the Jews in the Great Dispensation. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that some Jews, both in Central America and in the United States, had every reason to be influenced by the Judaism that we know to have existed in the 18th century when they crossed to the Americas, either from Loango or from points north, certainly Senegal, and further south, possibly Nigeria. We don't know very much about the practice.
He said the same thing on Sister E channel as well. So Garfield, this is why you always have egg on your face. You suck. You're not a scholar. You're a charlatan.
provide evidence right now that anybody that landed, that came over on a ship physically in the Western Hemisphere? I'm not talking from parts of Africa to Freetown where the people with the Yah went.
So Garfield, you died on that. You died when I presented my information years ago with Billy the Jew and those two men that came into Charleston, Carolina, right? And they were identified as being of the Jewish nation. You died then. You died then. But this is even more concretization of your burial, man. And it's embarrassing at this point. Now, I want you guys to see this as well. Right. There's Hashar busted him on that too with Billy the Jew. Exactly. Billy the Jew was a Hebrew by his own admission, by his own mouth. He said he was a Jew. He said he came from a tribe of Jews. Yeah, well, he lied. Bruh, how do you know that? You went to a time machine? No. How You Be Praised says, I can believe Garfield and the Dagger Squad is going around telling people J.A. Rogers is pseudo. J.A. Rogers was doing this 100 years ago. What Tudor Parfitt is doing now, traveling, collecting information. Exactly. And you disrespected this man. That's from the Caribbean as well. You disrespected him because you have an agenda. Truth is our agenda. You understand? Exactly. Garfield got bodied. Tudor Parfitt bodied Garfield. And Tudor Parfitt went on Sister E's channel Sunday and pretty much reverberated. Well, not reverberate. He will be reverberating this today, but was saying the same exact things on Sister E's channel. So, yeah, Garfield, you done for. Warrior Lord says Tudor Parfitt lived amongst African Jews and was able to give firsthand accounts, primary sources, debunking Garfield's pseudo-intellect. Exactly. Everyone should have J.A. Rogers' book, man. It's a staple in the community. Because of many things that is in J.A. Rogers' book, we've been reverberating in the community for years. It's you guys that have a problem with people that are of African descent disseminate information, not us. Y'all hate people that say anything about Jews being black. Y'all hate that. You hate the notion. You hate that. And it's on video, it's recorded, so nobody's lying on you. You're recorded saying these erroneous things, and you're caught, and Tudor Parfitt put his foot up your ass. All right, so let's go to Sister E's channel now and watch him say the same thing about the slavery. I believe it's the 37-minute marker, or it could be the 1 hour and 17-minute marker. Let me see. It's good.
Plenty of black Jewish communities which had settled long before the beginning of transatlantic slavery.
Let me go back.
Examples of Jewish settlement. If you're looking for black Jews in Africa, there are quite a number of different routes. If you talk to our friends in Nigeria, they will find distant connections going back a very, very long period. That's one possibility. There's not very much historical basis for it, but it doesn't matter.
Exactly, because again, he also says in Sister E's channel, he's not here to cast doubt on the legends or mythos of these people as well. Because he, again, like he said on Garfield's channel, a lot of times these myths and legends conceal historical realities. But if you don't read the man's book and you don't read Eda Brutus' book, you're gonna say these erroneous things. You think myth means pure fiction when they say absolutely not. That's not what they're saying and denoting when they use the word myth.
In the case of the Lemba, we have a possibility via the East Coast. So the penetration of Africa from the East Coast. Further north, there plenty of evidence that Judaism spread into Africa, either from the Yemen, that's what we usually think, or through Africa, or through Egypt, and trickled into different parts in the north. And also, we've got plenty of examples of Jewish settlement in the early 1500s in the northwest, in places like Senegal and Saint Tomé, an island off the west coast of Africa, not very far off the west coast of Africa, and now Luanga. So the big question for the African community, African Americans, and there's been a lot of discussion over it, is, there are plenty of people who think, well, Judaism came with us to the United States or to the Americas from Africa, and this is something that's widely rejected as being impossible. But I think my research indicates that nothing is impossible. And given that there were plenty of Black Jewish communities which had settled long before the beginning of transatlantic slavery, it's entirely possible that there were Jews who were enslaved in the West Coast and, of course, in the East Coast. Not that many slaves came from the East Coast. Comparatively, most of the slaves came from the...
So he said it is possible that these Jews or these Black Jews were enslaved, caught up in the slave trade. We've been saying this for years. You guys talk and speak about it like, oh, that's impossible. Show me one that came off a slave ship. Show me one off, because you're cynics. You're not scholars. You're cynics. You all exhibit the behavior of cynics. Tudor Parfitt said, through my research, I'm showing you that this is not impossible. So why do you teach it as if it is impossible? As if you read his book, as you claim. You Negroes didn't read. You Negroes don't read. You don't assess the information. You get on here and you make erroneous claims, and then we come and kill you. We come and kill you because it's easy at that point. Make these erroneous claims that these authors are not making. Now, if I go to his book to show that he's open, and he's been open to the idea of the historicity of the Jews being legitimate in Western Africa and having a presence in Western Africa. But if you don't read his damn book, Garfield, you would say some of the most, what's the word I'm looking for? Erroneous things that you can come up with. Now, I'm just going to share my entire screen on this one. Look. And we will be covering this whole chapter, the entire chapter here on the source. All right. So this is Black Jews in Africa and in the Americas by Tudor Parfitt. Page number 43. It says, from Equiano's time to our own day, the discourse placing Jews in West Africa or constructing West Africans as an Israelite racial entity has continued to develop and expand with some remarkable consequences. Throughout the 19th century, Jewish or Israelite traits and languages were imagined into existence with great regularity. Now they'll be like, oh, well, he used the word imagine. Let's keep reading. And the biological origins and racial stereotypes of many West African peoples were stated to be Jewish or Israelites. Sometimes indigenous origin myths were also invoked to insert Semitic origins. Watch this. To show that this guy is open and objective with his scholarship, he says these may have contained some element of historical memory of actual Jewish presence in West Africa. So the guy is not just coming out here swinging his sword to the notion of Israelites in Africa. He said, hey, these things could contain elements of historical memory of a Jewish presence. Now, is he open to other things? Yes, because he says, or more likely may have come about as a result of Muslim influence. But the point is, he's objective. You guys present this guy's information as if he's not objective. It says, thus, so again, he says, these may have contained some element of historical memory of actual Jewish presence in West Africa. It says, thus, the Soninke people who are scattered throughout and beyond the area of the ancient Ghana Empire allegedly had traditions that claimed an extraneous origin for themselves, which invoked the memory of Dinga, their ancestor, who was believed to be of Middle Eastern extraction, to have come from Jerusalem or perhaps from Yemen. Remember, he brought up Yemen. Dinga's own direct ancestors were variously believed to be the biblical Job, King Solomon, or King David. One French colonial official, Maurice Delafos, basing his views in part upon these tribal traditions, concluded that the Ghana Empire had been founded by a nomadic group from northern Africa of Middle Eastern origin, and constructed a theory around a Judeo-Syrian racial origin of the Sunnika. All right, so we can clearly see in his book that he gives the possibility of there being an actual historical Jewish presence in West Africa. He's not a cynic like you guys try to paint him to be, like you guys are. All right, let's get back to the footage. Man. Let's get back to the footage. So we can clearly see, Garfield, you died on your own show. This guy pretty much wiped the floor with you. And we're going to get to the next part after we review Sister E and the portion where he talks about the existence of Black Jews on Sister E's channel, which is an hour and the 17-minute marker, right? So let's cue this back up. Now we're going to go to the hour and 17-minute marker.
I believe that they're descended from the orphans who were exiled, the Jewish orphans.
I think this is how I'm paraphrasing it.
Well, I don't know about that reference, and I'd be very surprised if it were entirely true. I think they would have known a bit of European languages because, after all, they traded. But in none of my sources do I get that, and I believe that they're descended from the orphans who were exiled, the Jewish orphans, Spanish Jewish orphans who were exiled to the Portuguese possession of São Tomé. But there's no absolute proof of that. It's probable, but you're absolutely right that there were plenty of other settlements, particularly in Senegal and down the what's called La Petite Côte. And there are a couple of very good books on the subject of this Sephardi settlement in the West Africa. We know, for instance, that by the middle of the 16th century, so 1550-ish, there were a number of communities that by then were black. They intermarried, but they maintained Judaism, and that's in Senegal. And undoubtedly, there were others further south, and we have references to these black Jews going way down the coast of West Africa. So the people that say, there just aren't any Jews in Black Africa, or there's no proof of it, are simply wrong.
Y'all been saying that for years. Y'all been saying that there are no Jews, there are no black Jews in West Africa. Y'all been saying that for years. And Tudor Parfitt got on camera and said the people that are pushing that narrative are wrong. So he's killing the narrative that there were no black Jews in West Africa. He's killing the narrative that they couldn't have got caught up in the slave trade. I just did a whole presentation on the channel about Jews being victims of the slave trade. And I used the Luso-Africans as my case study and to prove my point, because the Luso-Africans were being sold by the Bihogo slave raiders. That's history. There's no way around that. They was getting caught up and sold into Brazil, into the Caribbeans, by the Bihogo slave traders, and they were doing these raids and catching these Luso-Africans and selling them, which were descendants of Jews, the Sephardim. But you guys are so pseudo and disingenuous, you don't care about historical truths or historicity. You just care about pushing your agenda, which is to be anti-Israelite, be anti-Bible. And that's why our brother Reggie has a message for Garfield, aka the toilet scholar, man. You will forever be known as the toilet scholar. you're a damn blooper and you're a damn joke.
So he's in the toilet with Rob Bourne.
Right, man. You forever belong in the toilet, man. The proverbial toilet, and we flushing you down, man. Period.
In Leonard Jeffries' class, Professor Everett Scobie class, John Henry Clark, he wouldn't even talk to you. Dr. Ben would call you a damn idiot.
Yeah, Garfield. Well said, Dr. Reggie. Garfield, and the funny thing about these clips, Reggie was actually speaking to Garfield because Garfield got on candid camera and basically tried to deny Tudor Parfitt and speak, I mean, not Tudor Parfitt, deny Equiano and speak down on Equiano, all because he has a reference in his book about Igbo practices resembling Jewish practices. And the whole book not even about that, but you're going to disregard this man's credibility and disregard him just because he has one reference about us being Jews or being similar to Jews. This guy's mad, man. Right. So Nehemiah said, can you share the presentation? If you go to my channel right now, because if you're watching live on Genesis 49ers or the Source Debate League, if you stroll down in the videos, you'll see where it says, are the Hebrews victims of the slave trade? And I did that presentation a couple months ago, maybe 2 or 3 months ago. You can check that out. And I covered that in a stint. Exactly, Anonymous Hebrew. This is how you objectively go through information. Exactly. They're not even objectively going through the information. They're just saying, well, this guy disagrees with you. This is what you start doing to these pseudos. Explain and explicate. Demonstrate how he disagrees with it. Don't just say it. Y'all just say stuff, y'all parakeet stuff and go around the community pushing this narrative and this lie. But you can't demonstrate it. You know why you can't demonstrate it? Because you ain't read the book. People can see I own the book. We're covering the book here on the Source, and it will be covered in its entirety within a week or two. And you guys are going to be able to see who's actually reading the book or reading his books. All right. So we just watched Tudor Parfitt basically say anybody that's saying there was no black Jews in Africa are wrong. Now that's let's go back to Garfield's clip and watch Tudor Parfitt split Garfield's wig open with the fact that the limba have that drum artifact that's akin to the Ark of the Covenant. All right, let's get it. I believe they start discussing that around the 36-minute marker. Who just stepped in the room? D-Red. D-Red, did you want to add to that, brother?
I just wanted to say, man, it's pretty much over, man. Like, I think it's actually, I feel it's actually funny. You know what I'm saying? That, you know what I mean? It shows that people, if they read Tudor Parfitt and either Bruder's work, it's clear that you either didn't understand it or you didn't completely read it, because everything that he's pretty much saying in these interviews, he pretty much said them in the book.
Right.
So it's like it's not news to me, but I'm not understanding. Like, okay, put it this way: if I hold a position, right, you know what I'm saying? So this is why I'm not really fully understanding. If I hold a position, right, and I want to hold my position, and I have the position debunked, I'm not gonna bring somebody on my show that don't agree with my position. It's gonna go against my. You see what I'm saying? So that's why I say either they didn't read it, didn't fully understand what he meant by certain things that he was saying.
Right. I'm gonna say the farmer, the brother, did not read this book in its entirety. And like Tudor Parfitt told him, if you read my work tentatively, Not skim through it, try to find something to fit your narrative. Read the damn book in its entirety. Read why he wrote the book. Like when we read Ida Bruder's preface and why she wrote her book. She wrote her book to give a voice to the Limba, to these African tribes claiming this lineage. Not to lambaste them, not to discredit them, not to cast doubt on their legends or their mythos. But if you didn't read the book, as it's clear as day that the people at Garfield's camp did not read the book. That's why he's on here saying you gotta buy these books and read them because you guys ain't read it. And what Tudor Parfitt's gonna say next, D-Red, is going to kill their whole damn camp, man. It's over for them. They dead. You dead in the water.
Which existed in the area of today's Republic of Congo. I think it probably went as far north as Gabon and also into the Democratic Republic of the Congo, which is that vast part of West Africa. And this was a kind of, it was something like a secret society. It was a society of healing. The people concerned were doctors, medicine men, and the symbol of their activities, this Lemba activity, was a drum of healing. Now, to non-Africans, this isn't making much sense, but if you're steeped in African history, African traditions, the weight of the idea of the drum is considerable. And the drum of the Lemba at the same time is hugely important. It's called Ngoma. And, you know, in the book I wrote about the Ngoma, and some of you may have seen the History Channel movie I did, I have connected the story of the Lemba drum with the idea of the last Ark of the Covenant. It would be easy to...
So Toomba took the drum that they had and he had connected it to the idea, the concept of the lost Ark of the Covenant. Now, he's not saying that it is the lost Ark of the Covenant, but he's saying it's a descendant of the lost Ark of the Covenant. Watch.
Mock this and to say, hey, we think you found the lost tribe of the lost Ark of the Covenant. Absolutely not. But I never said that. All I said was that the idea of the lost Ark, the lost Ark, the Ark of the Covenant, somehow entered Africa, and it seems to be represented in the tribal legends, well, realities, the tribal history of the Lemba. So
he said it is in reality of the tribal history of the Lemba. Look at Garfield's face. He know he in trouble, man, because you have pushed the narrative that there's no proof, it's all fake, it's all false, made up, pure fiction. And he's giving you archaeology right now. He's giving you historical reality right now. He's giving you comparative analysis right now because he's a damn PhD. That's what they do. They have research competency. Not some idiot on the internet that goes around and try to lambast information. He builds his arguments based off information.
What you have is you've got a receptacle made of wood. And if you know your Bible, you'll know that there are two descriptions of the Ark of the Covenant. One is that it was certainly made of wood, but covered in gold, and it was quite an elaborate thing, and it had a lid on the top, and there were sort of angels at each end of the top, not really angels exactly, but figures anyway. And that was the, so to speak, the footstool of God. So, and this object was made by Bezalel, the great craftsman. But in the book of Deuteronomy, you will see that Moses himself made an ark, and this was simply made from the acacia trees that were growing on Mount Sinai. And he made this kind of box.
He's referencing Deuteronomy, the 10th chapter, when Moses made an ark. He's going to give an explanation. Yeah, one ark that was made for religious purposes, and then you had the other ark that they took out to war with them. And he's saying that the limba drum is analogous to the wooden ark. You see what I'm saying? So that's what he's bringing up, and it's a very powerful point. It's a very powerful point, and it points to the limba having legitimacy to their claims of being Israelites.
So ark just means box. That's all it is, and or chest. And he made it, and the broken tablets were put in it, and he took it down. And subsequently, according to Jewish commentators, there were two arks. One, the simple wooden thing, was the Ark of War, and the more elaborate thing was the ark that eventually went into the Holy of Holies, the Devir in the Temple in Jerusalem. So the simple wooden object, the Ark of War, let us hypothesize, according to the book of Jeremiah, was taken to a particular cave. There are Muslim accounts of tribes getting hold of this ark, going down into the Yemen, where Lemba people may be from, seem to be from.
You see how he's connecting this ark idea to the Lemba? He's giving them historical provenance with this. Something that Garfield would never do on his show. I'm glad Tudor Parfitt came on now, because the truth is coming out now. We have strong arguments to these claims. And look at Garfield trying to think of something to get out of his ass whooping that he get.
And so that would give a kind of historical connection. And
an historical connection, Garfield. Are you going to comment on that? Or are you going to say, oh, wow, that's interesting? No, you're not. You're going to talk around the point. You're going to try to throw a straw man out there, which you're going to see him do it right after he finishes speaking.
When you think that the Lemba priests carried the this relatively rare genetic signature connecting them.
He called this ark, or this drum that they got, a genetic signature.
Perhaps with the priests of the Holy Temple in Jerusalem carrying something which looks very much like the Ark of the Covenant.
Oh, my bad. He's talking about Jay. My bad. He's talking about that Kohen model haplogroup. Well, also we have to understand that the sub-Saharan African element, which they used was the Yoruba in Morjani's paper, was in Israel, ancient Israel, during the time of the Iron Age 2A period, which is a known Israelite period. And that's the period we see all the material culture come up, the terracotta, 7-spotted lamps, the Stone Age cut altars. You understand? We see the kings, we see the armory, we see Ahab, we see the theophoric names with Yah in it during this time period. Sub-Saharan Africans were there. So people harp on the Kohen gene, which is the popular haplotype that's being used, but we do have the Sub-Saharan African haplogroups there as well, which many people don't understand. Limba is a Bantu group. Majority of the Limba are Bantu. Majority of these groups are EM180, E3V8, I think, and then EM2.
Which is to say, it's carried on poles. There are rings on each corner of this object, which I found back in 2006 or 7. And which has got sacred objects inside it, which is carried into war, which can.
And while he's saying all these things and giving these the evidence for the historical connection, Garfield is holding his face down in shame right now. Like, what's the matter with you, Garfield? Because are you upset? Are you sad because he's giving credence to the claims that we have been making and reverberating in the community for years? You look upset. You look sad. You like your stomach's about to turn.
Kill people with its flames. And you can go on and on and on. The parallels between the two objects are absolutely overpowering. I'm not in any way saying that that the object I found was the original Ark of the Covenant, but I would say that it was the great grandson.
He says that this drum that the Limba were carrying around, having all these parallels, is a historical connection. It's the great grandson of the actual Ark of the Covenant. And look at Garfield's face. He's thinking of something to say. And all he's going to say is, oh, well, he's not, before anybody run with that, he's not saying it's the Ark of the Covenant. Duh! He just said that. But you're not going to sit there and acknowledge that the man made a powerful point with that being a historical connection, because you're a charlatan. You're a charlatan and you want to push a narrative. So, yeah. Shout out to Mikael. He about to throw up, man. He's about to throw up on camera. He's sick to his stomach, man. Hearing Tudor Parfitt pretty much laid a smackdown on him. So we seen throughout this video, Tudor Parfitt killed the notion that there are no black Jews in West Africa. He killed that notion. He showed and proved an argument for black Jews getting caught up in slavery, and that being the way black Judaism diffused into the African American or American black slaves communities. And they've been going around saying, well, the only way they could get it if they got to a formal conversion. These guys were converted by it. No, they wasn't. Because you had, just like Tudor Parfitt said, there was a numerous of black Jewish communities that existed in Guinea and Senegal and the coast of Africa and south of that, Principe, Sao Tome, Cape Verde. Stuff that we've been saying for years. Stuff that we have been saying for years. And you guys pretended that the information wasn't solid. And you get a PhD, Tudor Parfitt, on your show, a historian that has been studying this since the 80s, to verify everything we've been saying from this historical standpoint, that there's black Jews in West Africa, black Jewish communities in West Africa, and that some of them got caught up into the slave trade. That was my whole presentation here on The Source. Are Hebrews victims of the slave trade? You understand? So, I mean, this case closed at this point. You died today. And this really was your funeral service. This was your funeral service, Garfield. This was needed. I'm glad he came on your show and gave you that quick little spanking. You understand? Especially with that drum, because a lot of you guys will look at these Limba, and even Polite did this, went on record and tried to say the Limba were full of, sugar, honey, iced tea. And Tudor Parfitt is saying, hey, man, these people have a legitimate claim because of that drum, because of their history, the laws they caught, that they kept and passed down to subsequent generations. All right. So I'm gonna end the show there. It's very telling what Sister E and what was brought up on Garfield's channel, that Garfield, you don't know what the hell you're talking about, and we've been telling you that you don't read. You understand? Let me get some of these comments knocked out before we leave and in the show. Let me see what y'all saying in the comment board. There's the Hebrew says they Christians. That's why it's so much eisegesis instead of exegesis when it comes to bringing out material. Exactly. You guys eisegete the information, not exegete. Y'all read Tudor Parfitt's work and say, well, he's saying that y'all all converts. That's what Rob Bourne was saying about Ida Bruder's book. Oh, this book is about converts. No, it's not. In her book, she said there's a historical merit. She has a whole chapter dealing with the historical merits. And we're going to cover that next, chapter 8. And she basically brings out, let me get it. Let me pull it up real quick. I had a book in my head. That some of the strongest evidence is the cartography, which cartography is map making. Because we know the Jews were in West Africa, right? It's because the maps because of the cartography. The Jewish cartographers made maps that were exact of sub-Saharan Africa, Western Africa. And the only way they can make maps with that type of accuracy, if they were familiar with the landscape, if they've been in and out those lands, they knew about the trans-Saharan slave routes, the trade routes. They knew about all that because they've been in and out of those areas for years. Let me share my screen. Let me read this book to y'all. We've been there for a minute. We've been in Africa for a minute. We get out of Tudor Parfitt's book, and we're going to go to Sarah Taib Carlene's book. All right, The Jews of North Africa. And read what she says of how long the Jews have been there in the pre-Islamic period. Right? So, bear with me. I'm going to share my screen. We're going to get into this book. Appreciate it, Warrior Lord. Yeah, that's the channel. That's the video. Are Hebrews victims of the slave trade on the source, Genesis 49ers. As you can see, this is The Jews of North Africa from Dido by Sarah Taib Carlene. It says the pre-Islamic period, 813 BCE to 698 BCE. History origin of North African Jews from Carthage to Byzantine. Nowadays, North Africa is known especially for its climate, its beaches, and its tourist sites. Of particular interest are the ruins of Greco-Roman Empire, a period during which the Jews witnessed the spread of Christianity under Emperor Constantine. Among the great preachers, thinkers, and Christian philosophers of North African origin, we will cite Inter alia St. Augustine, Tertullian, and St. Jerome. Remember St. Jerome? She's gonna give a pertinent quote from him. Carthage and the Phoenicians from 813 and 146 BC. The Jews are described as being native to North Africa, almost as part of its flora and fauna. Ever since historians and archaeologists started to write on this region with regards to the foundation of Carthage in 813 BCE by Dido, queen of the Phoenicians. However, it is possible that the Jews had settled in North Africa prior to this date, as we know that King Solomon, who reigned 973 to 936 BCE, had excellent economic relations with King of Tyre, Hiram, who reigned 969 to 935 BCE. One can read in the Bible, and he brings up the history of that, right? Marcel Simon, one of our principal sources of information about Jewish communities of pre-Islamic North Africa, surmises that although it is difficult to pinpoint exactly when the Jews first settled in the region, it is also almost certain that there were Jews during the Phoenician Empire, or even before, and certainly before the Romans, i.e. before 146 BCE. Hertzberg presumes that North African Jewry possibly goes back to the time when Tyrians and Sidonites settled on the African coast. Built close to the port of Sidon, and Tyre was about the citadel and port. So we had these people going back to the time of Queen Dido. And we know Queen Dido is tied to who? Ahab, because Ahab married Jezebel, right? And they had children, so on and so forth. So they're related. All right, so now let's get to the Roman period and afterwards. Page number 19 now says, according to St. Jerome, under the Pax Romana, the Jewish communities underwent a period of great prosperity all the way from India to the western tip of Africa. You understand? Now he's dealing with the Pax Romana. That's going to the Severian dynasty. That's around the 2nd or 3rd century CE. So there were Jewish communities from India all the way to the western tip of Africa since then. So we know Jews have been there. So it's a wrap. It's a wrap. We have strong evidence and arguments for our claims. And Tudor Parfitt pretty much cemented that on your show. You had egg on your face. You looked sick. You understand? You was looking real sick, man. Like you was about to throw up hearing that information be disseminated. You was happy you had to leave. Because if you watch it, Tudor Parfitt couldn't stay long. That's why the video is only an hour long. You was happy he had to leave. Because he was beating up everything that you have been pushing for the past 10 years, man. You on camera saying, "Oh, can you show one Jew that came off a slave ship claiming that?" And Tudor Parfitt blew it out the water. We blew it out the water years ago when you made the claim the first time. But hey, what they say, a hard head makes a soft behind, man. And you love being punished. All right, we getting ready to close it out. Shout out to all the viewers. Hey, Chemo, you're gonna have to catch the replay. Basically, he had Tudor Parfitt come on there, which is a scholar, a historian, PhD historian, and Tudor Parfitt pretty much laid the smackdown on his candy ass because he destroyed many of the lies that has been pushed out in the community by Garfield and others. Garfield said that there were no slaves that carried Judaism or saw themselves as Jews. The lie detector test determined that was a lie. Tudor Parfitt pretty much blew it out the water because he said, "Hey, you had all these Jewish communities in West Africa prior to the transatlantic slave trade, so the possibility is great because look at all these communities, and you guys are trying to paint it as if it's impossible." That was one point. He killed the point about there being people saying if there's no black Jews in West Africa. He said, if you're saying that, you're wrong. You're just completely wrong. And he brought out the limba artifacts, right? The limba drum and how it's analogous to the Ark of the Covenant. And he believes that the limba drum is a descendant of the Ark of the Covenant. All things that Garfield them have been fighting against for years, Tudor Parfitt came and confirmed it today on his channel and smacked him up pretty good. So my message to you, Garfield, is you're a clown, you're slow, you're a charlatan, and you're not going to change. You're going to continue to be a charlatan. You're going to keep getting your behind whooped on the information. All right, we're going to close it out. What song should we close it out on? I think LP. Close it out with LP, man. Shout out to LP. Shout out to our brother LP, like Paul. Good musician, has some powerful messages in his song. We're going to end it with him. And stay tuned tonight. Stay tuned tonight. We will be having a simulcast. Elder Yara versus Ankh. They will be debating. Let me get the flyer on that so you guys can see the flyer. They will be debating tonight, and it will be simulcast on our channel as well as SVDL. So y'all don't want to miss that. You know what I'm saying? Support your brother. Support your brother, Elder Yara. He's a great scholar, good debater. He been putting in work, man. Dude's no slouch. Dude's no joke. He's a vet in the game. You know what I'm saying? He's been in the ring with the best of them. So come out, show your support, hit that like button, subscribe, and you know what I'm saying? Y'all in for a good one. Y'all in for a good one. Let me share my screen so you guys can see the actual flyer. Yeah. Them Christian apologetics been dead. And you notice, D-Red, that a lot of these Christian apologetics have teamed up with Garfield. How can you team up with a man that blatantly goes against the biblical narrative and says that the Bible's false, it's fake, and there's no truth in it? But you Christian though, right? Anyway, here's the flyer right here. We're going to have Elder Yara versus Ankh. You know what I'm saying? And they will be debating on, does the Bible teach we are gods? It's going to be a dual topic. First topic is going to be, does the Bible teach we are gods? The second topic is, did ancient Israel introduce any groundbreaking idea that influenced the modern world? That will be going on February 10th, which is tonight around 8 p.m. CST, 9 p.m. EST. So get your popcorn. Don't go nowhere, man. Clear that slide out so you guys can witness this history with Elder Yara laying the smackdown on Ankh's candy ass. All right, man. As y'all can see, that's going on tonight. Come through, show us some love, show Elder Yara some love, hit that like button, subscribe to the Source Debate League. We're gonna close out, and we're gonna give a moment of silence for the death of our brother Garfield. Can't read. All right, man. Let's get into it, man. Let's play the brother. Yeah, they dead, man. God bless the dead. Vocab dead, G-Con dead, they all dead. Yeah, that's right. God bless the dead. Let's get to it, man. Me close out with LP's video. Rest in peace, Garfield.
Holy, what you do, partner? Man, you're cool. Ready to get mad? What you do? You got that? Yeah, I got it. What you Great, man. Check it out, fool. Let's go do. Yeah. Right on.
All right. My brother, Mighty Hebrew. I'm gonna extend it. We usually do one song. We're gonna play Mighty Hebrew song too, but you know we got your music now, so we can do it ahead of time. Let me see if I can play it real quick. Let's see. Shout out to LPZ though, man. He make this rap stuff look ace. That's LPZ like Paul. You can find him on YouTube. We're gonna play Mighty Hebrew.
To cause to accept what is a lie and invalid to be true and valid. He has deceived the whole world. How do you deceive the whole world except that evil lie has been institutionalized? How do you deceive the whole world except that there are governments who sit on the thrones of lies? How do you deceive the whole world except that you have some Stanfords and some Yales and some Harvards and some Michigan States? How do you deceive the whole world that the devil has deceived the whole world? 2021, the mighty Hebrew in the building, the mighty Hebrew in the building. Hallelujah. Nothing can stop Hebrew Israelite sovereign nationalism. Rise and destroy worldwide. Israelite sovereign nationalism. Rise, which worldwide. Investigate, stand my turn. I metamorph orbits, time travel portal, the mighty Hebrew immortal, Yasha All's morals, Tova order, Tamar Natu, open doors, Hurrah Bar Hebrew, from the Beru, tribe of Judah, celestial Jew, old school rule, Elohim breeze through, like him bleeds, blow trees on order, rise up the stars have fallen, as I bear arms, bombing with me, calm, sign of the time from the watchers, fear no man, sword plate tighter than cold man, Moving L, call my first born old man. Toto Moto, kick like Sean Paul Van Dam, primal man, upright as he standing one for commandments. 2/3 sheep from the Sandman, I reminisce back in the days. Pro chance, food stands, praise waves, hot top fades and finger waves. My blood royal being brave, lost souls buried deep in Philly graves. Find the Solomon, crystal cave like the Zada. The two best got popped from gunfire. Wallace and Cord took shots. We went from 8-track tapes to pop, recorders to crack. CDs to digital visual, my flow kills serial killing with initial tracks, vicious, dark eclipse signs. For some be the end, ours just beginning. Open the yard mind, spectrum, prism, electric. I see visions from the mind, death to the blind. Who I be, man, deep in I be. Now I see, yo, I reign supreme. Team B, pointing like Great B. My turn, all y'all gonna learn. Smoke you down like I was smoking sure, but I'm not. Yo, beat like a clock, get knocked out, fucking with the real ops. Yeah, the mighty Hebrew, 2021. Shout out to Hebrew Israelite sovereign nationals all over the world. Walker to mine, mental was never destroyed. We got a 311 trillion, 40 billion year history to talk about. Shout out to all Hebrew Israelite sovereign nationals, the Kingdom of Yah, the Shah Prayer, the International Ambassador, Prime Minister, Prince Raphael, the Crown Prince, Nazi Yosef, the producer of this track, Lord Melchizedek, from Tacoma to Phillips. You know how we do. What you thought? You dealing with the tribe of Judah. We don't play no games. It's our turn to shine. Hebrew Israelite sovereign nationalism reigns supreme. Shout out to Side Net, Black News 102, Global Media Inc., FOPE, Lions in Israel, Shema Israel, the Kingdom of Yah, the Kingdom of Yah hosts coming to House of Yahudah, the United Nation of Israel, ISUPK. Yeah, that's how we gon' get it. Shout out to Priest Dozen Allah, Captain Azori Yah, Elder Twitna. Yeah, you know how we do. Yeah, Brian Dawson, the sovereign daughters of Zion rising. To my Isha, to my Eli Lee, Francis Rakia. Yeah, it's my turn. Yeah, Temple Ephraim, Morey Yoel, Morey Isa, Morey got roots, Prince Kaz, Israelites all over the world. Kwam Yasha Allah Kuma Yisrael.
All right. That was our brother Mighty Hebrew, man. Fire. I was thinking the same thing, Mikael. That sound a lot like what do we call it? What Wu-Tang, man. I love Wu-Tang, man. My favorite song by them is Shame on a Nigga. Shame on a nigga that tried to run game on a nigga that get buck wild with the trigger. That's my message to Garfield, man. Hey, before we leave, one more game. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna get that South slang. You know what I'm saying? Come out and support tonight, 8 p.m. CST, 9 p.m. EST. We will be having Elder Yara laying the smackdown on Unc's candy ass here on the Source, a simulcast. So come out, show your support. Dual topic: does the Bible teach we are gods? Did ancient Israel introduce any groundbreaking idea that influenced the modern world? So we will be seeing Uncle Tech get buried tonight. We are coming to his burial service. And we will be there to give our thoughts and prayers to the family, to the victim's family. So y'all come through the Source, SUC gang, 7 gang. Hey, it's 7 candlesticks up. We've been telling you niggas, it ain't a debate. It's a stick up. Gang.